I'm a bit strapped for time today, so I'm just gonna be doing my Korthia dailies and talking about stuff. What I do in Korthia is I try to get every treasure. Obviously, you're gonna miss some, unless you sit here for like hours on end. I do like Korthia treasures quite a bit. I don't like dailies. I never really have. We're doing Korthia 4 sockets. Basically, I've already grinded out 3, but I need more. And what's even more important than sockets is conduits. Oh, I already know it. Well, at least it's 150 gold. I need like 9 more of the soul twining crescents, so 8 more soul twining crescents at this point. Why are these moves teleporting on top of me? One thing I really wish they did was they put a soul twining crescents on a vendor somewhere. They're not on any vendors anywhere in Shadowlands. You can't buy them off the auction house or anything. So that means the only way to get your conduits up from 200 to 226 is grinding these things. Now, this grind used to be way worse. The patch should have launched. 9.1 should have launched with the BOA thing that brings your conduits up to 200. And that brings me to the topic of this video, which I think is ultimately the topic of the last 3 expansions. It's not that Blizzard doesn't have good changes, it's that they come too slow and they take too long to have an impact. Let's say 9.1 comes out. In a previous expansion, all you need to do is you get some catch-up gear, maybe you run the previous raid a little bit because it's easier. And you don't need to do the highest difficulty. You don't need to jump all the way to Mythic or Heroic or whatever. You can start out by just doing, you can make a new character, you can just do LFR. And the new zone usually comes with, some catch-up item level loot that will help you. Let's say 9.1 dropped today, and I played Death Knight in Season 1 of Shadowlands. So let's say I want to play Warrior, because I think Warrior is really cool. But I didn't have any gear on it, because I didn't keep up with it. I am straight shit out of luck when it comes to, gearing my warrior. The best way to get the conduits is to go to all the different unique conduit sources in the game. That means I have to go run Mythic 0 dungeons, I have to go run Mythic Plus dungeons, because conduits do drop in Mythic 0 and they do drop in Mythic Plus. I have to go run LFR, I have to go run normal, maybe even heroic. Definitely not Mythic, because the character's not geared, remember, but I could definitely get an LFR going. It's Melee the Wanderer. I already have this mount. I'll report the location though. 41, 39.8. Getting on the warrior and gearing it, it's kind of a nightmare. It's really difficult to engage with the game on 9.1 on a new character. My Death Knight, it's no problem. He already has all the conduits. He already has good gear from the raid. Literally, the only thing he needs is to go straight into the new daily content, which he doesn't need any loot from, but he's gonna need whatever new resource they have. And then I go into the heroic raid and I get my new heroic raid loot. It's a 2-step process. It's do my daily chores and then go into the raid, and that's reasonable for that Death Knight. That's reasonable, but for the warrior, it's not a reasonable amount. I mean, I don't think Blizzard realizes just how much it's hurting the player base and how many people don't want to play because of those simple reasons. It's just a huge pain in the ass, and I don't mind huge grinds. I'm a grind lord. When I'm complaining about grind interactivity, know that I'm someone who has no problem playing the new, when the new thing comes out, playing it for 6 to 7 hours a day, spending literally all of my free time just grinding away at it. What happened to me when 9.1 launched is, so my goals for this season were to get 1800 on each armor type for all the elite transmogs, and then push rating on my Death Knight. And Death Knight ended up being really bad. It's okay-ish now. It's like a low tier class. It's not the worst class in the game, but it's definitely just really, it's pretty far behind other classes. So, if you see a really high rated Death Knight, know that guy's pretty damn good. On the topic of the game being a nightmare for 9.1, specifically what happened to me was for male I did Hunter, Even though I like Hunter and Shaman, I probably like Shaman more than I like Shaman more than Hunter, but I thought Hunter was better, so I went with Hunter. For plate, I went with Death Knight. For leather, I think I was playing the Demon Hunter for Death Knight, or for leather. Even though Demon Hunter was really bad at the start of the season, and they were really bad in season 1. I don't remember. Maybe it was Monk. I think it was Demon Hunter though. But, and then for cloth, I went with Mage, because I thought Mage was cool. Even though I never played Mage before. So, what my day-to-day looked like at the start of 9.1, because all these characters had no gear from Season 1, it looked like me doing Korthia on Korthia dailies and looting treasures. Not every single treasure, but, you know, whatever treasures I happen to come across. Every single day. And yeah, I put 4 times the workload on myself, obviously, but... And that isn't required, you know. That's something that I did to myself, that's not Blizzard's fault. I wanted 4 times the characters, so I had to do 4 times the work. My problem wasn't with that. I didn't mind doing Korthia 4 times a day. I actually enjoyed it. My problem came with the fact that my conduits were like crap. They were like item level 145. And these soul twining crescents that back then you could only loot a single one per day. There was a loot cap on soul twining crescents when 9.1 launched. Eventually they got rid of it. But like getting your conduits actually required you to play all the types of content in the game, especially on a new character. If you look at the math and you start at like item level 145 for all your conduits, let's say you have, let's count how many this character had. Back then there was no spec specific conduits, by the way. You had to get all soul twining crescents. If you're a fire mage, they affected your frost conduits as well. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So 17 soul twining crescents to go from, that's 17 days of dailies to go from 145 to 168. And then from 168, I don't remember what the exact numbers were, but it was like there was green and then there was blue and then there was 184 and then there was 200 and then there was 213. So as you can see, it's like becoming this exponential grind where if I were to do it through just soul twining crescents and get all my conduits done for all my characters through nothing but soul twining crescents, that's like hundreds of days of dailies. It's literally not possible. I'd go crazy. Anyone would go crazy trying to do that. So how do you actually get conduits? Well, there's conduits in Castle Nathria. You know, these are brand new characters, so let's look at LFR. Does he even drop bonus loot? Here we go. He dropped 184. So, you know, I'm level 184 conduits. How many even drop in the raid? So where else do you get conduits? If you look at dungeons in the bonus loot section, so Mythic Zeros, there's item level 184. So I could go run every dungeon on Mythic Zero and I'd have a chance at getting a 184 conduit. Which still, to go from, like I said, to go from 184 to 200, that's 17 days of dailies on this character back when 9.1 started. And so that's assuming I get every conduit in the game at 184. And then there's conduits that appear on World Quest. So I'm also checking all the World Quest maps. Every single day I'm looking for conduits that I don't have on all of my characters. And conduits are a lot of power. They're more power than sockets. Being behind in sockets isn't that big of a deal, but being behind in conduits is going to cost you. And then the Deathbound Shards. There was like a once a week chance at Deathbound Shards from the new Torghast thing, which basically no one farmed. That was like a huge flop. The Adamant Vaults. People are like, oh my god, I gotta get my Adamant Vaults runs in. And then when people realize, oh, you run Adamant Vaults, you don't even get the Deathbound Shard. It's a chance at the Deathbound Shard. It was a fucking RNG chance at the Deathbound Shard. And I know that you could spam Adamant Vaults as much as you wanted until you got the shard, but like only that like, absolute sweatiest of the sweaters were doing that. You know, you're gonna do 5 Adamant Vaults runs a week for literally no rewards other than your Deathbound Shard, a single one. And you need, like I said, you need 17 of them to go from 226 to 239. And yeah, let's talk about Elite Raiders and how they look at it a bit differently. They have heroic loot. So let's say that they're running the new raid, Sanctum, on heroic. So let's look at the bonus loot. They get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Seven conduits in the raid out of 17 at 239. And you're not guaranteed to get those. Remember, those are not a guarantee. Those are, once again, another RNG chance. So hopefully you can understand, like, no matter what type of player you were, no matter what your goals were, conduits were a huge RNG fiesta. They were a major pain point, and Blizzard's argumentation is that, well, each conduit rank isn't that much power, but, and they're correct. They're correct. Every time you rank up a conduit from 184 to 200, you know, that's like less than a % increase in your DPS, I think, depending on the conduit. Like, usually it's less than a % of a DPS, but when you add them all together, when you go from the difference between 200 on all your conduits and 252 on all your conduits is huge. It's a really big difference. People are going to feel compelled to do that grind, even if it only adds up. You could tell me, oh well, all 3 potency conduits. Let's look at Marileth. Let's say all 3 potency conduits. Difference between mine are at like 200 or 213. The difference between these, how they currently are, and maxing them out at 252. You know, that's only. You could tell me that's only going to increase your DPS by 3%, but I would still feel compelled to do it, so that way I could be competitive, and most players would feel that way. The problem with such a large, huge RNG grinding system is that it crushes out and it grinds out the players. It makes them not want to play. It makes them feel like they're wasting their time. I think the current gearing system that we have for PvPers in Shadowlands, it's not completely horrible. It has some merits. Releasing the boxes later on in the season, if they do that again, the boxes are amazing. I love the boxes, even though they're RNG, and you see people like Peekaboo open up 40,000 conquest worth of boxes just to not get what he wants. That's just how it goes. The actual biggest problem with the current box system, I don't see very many people talking about this, but this affected me severely, is if you are a competitive PvPer and a competitive PvEer, every single week your box comes. And this wasn't a problem in Season 1, but it is a huge problem in Season 2. The box comes every week, and you have to make a choice. Am I going to grief my raid, or am I going to grief my arena team? I'm 100% dead serious. That is a real choice that you have to make. What do I mean by that? When you open your box on Tuesday, it's going to contain items from the raid. And it's also going to contain items from the arena vendor. The arena vendor stuff is going to be BIS for PvP. You know, you're not always going to get a BIS item, but if you unlock all 3 slots, especially early on in the season, the chance that you get a BIS item is pretty likely. When does gear matter the absolute most in the arena season? At the very beginning. When does gear matter the absolute most in the raid season? At the very beginning, when you're trying to do progression. The number one reason why I don't want to PvE and PvP on the same character at the start of a season is that I don't want to have to grief one of my teams. I want to play for my raid team. I want to make the most powerful character and do the absolute best performance that I can when I'm raiding. And that includes, you know, making sure that I'm taking the best items from the vault. That means I'm filling out the Mythic Plus vault, because some Mythic Plus items are BIS. I'm filling out the raid vault, because a lot of raid items are BIS. Even if they're only heroic, that could still last me, you know, like if Old Warrior Soul drops, that's most likely going to be BIS all the way until Mythic releases. Or, not releases, but like until I kill Mythic Sylvanas. I'm not sure if I want to raid in 9.2 or not. If I did raid, what would I even play? I don't know. I'm not sure what I want to PvP on either. And 9.2 is not that far away. I don't think I would PvP and PvE on the same character. Absolutely not. I would choose 2 characters to be competitive on. Even if it's the exact same class, I would play 2 demon hunters, if that's what it meant. Or 2 warriors, or 2 whatever. I absolutely would not do what I did in 9.1. I felt serious stress and serious strain on myself every single time I opened the box. There was a time that I opened a BIS PvP helmet, and I also opened up an IQD that was BIS. It was max item level IQD, like 252. And my Death Knight still has the IQD. I had to ask around for advice. I asked people like, hey, you know, what do you think? Do you think I should get the IQD? Do you think I should get this? I didn't choose something immediately. Basically, in a roundabout way, I went to my PvP team. I was like, hey guys, the helmet showed up in the chest this week, and I understand that's 900 conquest. I understand that's 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks of conquest. That could put me seriously ahead in arena to have an item like that, because IQD is not usable in arena. Even at 252, it's just not usable. It doesn't have the set bonus. Basically, by taking the IQD, I'm making the choice to grief my raid team. And I'm making, or not grief my raid team, I'm making the choice to grief my arena team. And I went to them and I told them, I'm just like, sorry. And that is a big reason why I quit PvPing early on. It's a big reason why I quit 9.1 early on. I felt that huge amount of stress and pressure put on me every single week. And I did take PvP items when it meant that, I could use them in PvE. But for the most part, PvP items were useless. A heroic raid item was better. I only played the season for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I quit. I couldn't take the pressure of, it was like 2 times in a row I made the choice to screw over my arena team, and I made the choice to be behind. We wanted an early gladiator. That was our goal. We're like, we just want to get the gladiator, and then after we get glad, we're gonna just chill around, and maybe we'll push more stuff later, but we want to get the glad super early this time around, because the season might be super cancer. It might be worse than season 1, and in some ways it was worse than season 1. But that's my story of 9.1. That's why I quit it really early on. The conduits on my alts, ultimately, even though I found that system annoying as hell, it was not the reason why I quit 9.1 early on. I absolutely quit 9.1 early on because of the box. It's plain and simple. If I played 9.2 and I decide to raid and arena again, I will be playing 2 different characters, 100%. And I will solely arena on one of them, and I will solely do Mythic Plus and raiding on the other. If you've run into a similar situation and you quit the game over similar stresses that I ran into, that would be my recommendation if you want to keep, try again in 9.2 if you want to keep playing in 9.2. All right, well, that's gonna be it for today. I know this is a bit different, but thanks for watching nonetheless.